Yeah, go on. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What is it that I want? Yeah. Yeah. But I think for many people, an earlier questioner said, was I manipulated into having this want, or was it authentically one of my own? That's a very natural way to put the question, is this what I really want? Was I manipulated into it or not? And that is a question about where it comes from. Yeah. So I think, in terms of Frankfurt's diagram here, we've got to have some understanding of, it's not just that you choose which of your first-order desires are going to be effective. We've got to have something about where those choices are coming from, how they're being driven. At the end of a lecture last time, some people were making the point that, look, suppose that Lebet's thing, remember Lebet's thing, that your desires, your intentions are prefaced by unconscious brain activity, and then we say, well, your brain is making you do all that stuff. Well, suppose it turns out your second-order desires, I mean, actually, it would be completely in the spirit of the Lebet work to find out that, suppose this guy's task is to form some second-order desires. It's entirely possible that you would get results that show that the unconscious brain activity, the guy sitting at the back of the room with the meter on you, knows before you do which second-order desires you're going to form. And if that happens, then how could your brain's still in charge. You're still just being manipulated by your brain. Or if you've got your second-order desires as a result of hypnosis, and you've got a hypnotist that said, that told you, I want you to want to have desires like Mother Teresa's. Yeah? Then you go around having those second-order desires. I want my desire to be like Mother Teresa's. It wouldn't be authentically yours. So I think that question, where do these second-order desires come from? If you're going to get behind some of your desires and not others, where does that come from? That's really difficult and really important. Yeah? This is one of the best things I know of in this subject. There's a couple of paragraphs from Paul Stern explaining the views of Ernst Tugendhat. I don't know why it seems to me you need a German philosopher for this, but anyway. If you're asking where these second-order desires come from, Tugendhat's idea is that you've got to have a narrative of how your life is going. If you consider what's going on when you justify your life choices, when you explain why you got behind some desires and not others, you've got to set these decisions in a story, a narrative context in which your decisions appear intelligible, reasonable, practical responses to experience. You tell a story of your life, where you came from, where you're going. And it's within the context of that story you have as to how to live, how the story went in the past and how you want it to go in the future. It's in the context of a story like that you're getting behind some desires and not others makes sense. If you consider the formulations in terms of which we define our identities as agents, when you're asking the question who you are, they've got to be understood as ways of making sense of what you've done and what you intend to do. So you need a narrative like history. And that might well bring in the story of your family, your friends, your context, the culture, the community you belong to. So if you think of it like that, these valuings, these getting behind some desires, where these volitions to some desires that will come from, it's going to have something to do with the story that you want to tell about your own life. And in the face of it, that would separate it from the case of the hypnotist or the case of the hostage, because they don't have a conception of how they want to live, a narrative of their own life that this is fitting into. This is like an interruption to their narrative of their own life, what's happening in the prison or what's happening, what the hypnotist is doing. This is something that's cutting across the narrative of their own life and their conception of how to live. But I think even when you put it like that, I think that helps, having that idea of a story of your own life here. But it's still something over-intellectualized. It still makes it seem like you're getting this kind of off-the-peg conception of how to live and then trying to adapt yourself to it. And the same question, where is it coming from, your conception of how to live? So if you put up your hand if you think that notion of the story or the narrative of your life, you think that helps? Put up your hand if you think that helps. 3, 4, okay. And if you think that doesn't help? Okay, and if you don't really understand the question? Whoa, okay. Is the problem you don't even see how it's meant to help? Or what, you don't even see what it's meant to help with? Okay, so what it's meant to help with is, you remember this guy steering your desires? The question is, what map is he using to determine which desires to have? And the suggestion is, the map he's got is some sense of how one ought to live, and that's being used to fill out the details of which desires you should be having. Yep. Authenticity comes in degrees. That must be true. Yeah, that must be right. Yes. Yeah, you've got some looping around from yourself at different times. Yeah, you want your past self to be controlling your later self. Is it something like that? Is that what you mean? Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think that's right. There are two things there. One is it comes in degrees. The other is a thing about your past self and your future self. Yeah. I think they're both right. It must be true that it comes in degrees. Yeah. Yeah. But if you think in terms of a narrative like that, you could respect that. Your past conception of how to live, the conception you've got of now of how to live, could be affecting your picture of what desires you want to have in the future. Is that catching you? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I think that so far as I can see, a lot of the issues here connect to what was going on when we talked about Laurie Paul's stuff, about imaginative understanding and projection into your future life. When we were talking about Bernard Williams and the self, remember the Prince and the Cobbler and the A-body person and the B-body person and all that, we were talking about how an imaginative understanding of a future state of affairs can engage your current emotions. So if you think about, you're told there's going to be future pain and future serenity, and you wonder which one's going to be me, is that me with the pain or is that me with the serenity? Then when you imaginatively understand that pain, it depends whether you're thinking of it as you or thinking of it as someone else. It's not that you have any or very much control over this. Your emotions just get directly mobilized by imagining. If you imagine yourself suffering great pain, then what you're immediately feeling is fear. If you're imagining someone else suffering great pain, what you're mobilized there can't be fear. It might be compassion, but it won't be fear. So when you projectively understand your future self, that just directly engages your current emotions. So you can think of it, you can think of what's going on when you're trying to determine what your what your future desires should be as a matter of imaginatively understanding your future preferences, imaginatively understanding what your future desires are, and reacting to them, having your emotions mobilized by that. When you imagine your future preferences, if you're thinking, well, this will be me in the future, simply wanting to please the commander, then that, I guess, is horrifying. You just immediately reject that. If you have some much more, imagine yourself in the future with some much more healthy preference structure, then you say, that's great. Now, that's not an intellectualized thing. That's your current emotions getting mobilized by your imaginative understanding. That's what's different about imaginative understanding than just scientifically looking at which preference structures make people happy. What I want to suggest is that when you think about the way in which your current emotions can be mobilized by thinking about a future preference structure, that's what defines the future preference structure as authentically yours. The earlier prisoner would not have said, look, that's just great, when imagining that. So the right picture is just what the last questioner said. You think of it across time. You think of the steering being done by the earlier self. So what happens is that you're imagining your future preference structure, and that imaginative understanding of your future preference structure, of a possible future preference structure, is what engages your current emotions so that you choose to have one preference structure rather than another. That's authenticity. But what I'm suggesting is that projective understanding of your future self by your past self, that's what connects up. That's getting your volitions connected to your second order desires in a way that makes your future desires authentic. So in the case of a beaten captive or somebody hypnotized, what you've got there is an interruption across that kind of imaginative projection from a past self to a future self. And you can't understand genetically by empathy how the later person's preferences could be emerging out of their earlier preferences. Yep. Yes. Oh, well, okay, yeah. Yes. 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 Okay, yeah, yeah. That's right. No, that's a really interesting case. And I guess in general, it doesn't need to be children. I see that it's especially, high priority if it's children. But it's also true that just as someone else's pain, your compassion can get engaged. So with someone else's preference structure, you could say, imagine being so anxious, or imagine being so apathetic, or whatever. Yeah. Your emotions could be getting engaged by someone else's preference structure. But just as which emotions it is, in the case of pain, is different whether it's yours or someone else's, the preference structures will be different whether it's yours or someone else's. Yeah. I mean, the mother with the child, if you think about the mother with the child's preference structure, the mother might value selflessness, looking out for other people. But you might think with your child, no, look out for yourself. You see what I mean? It's not necessarily the same, the way you engage with your own future and with someone else's, even if it's a child. Is that right? Does that make sense? But in the case of a child particularly, it could be a really strong emotional engagement. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Surprise and persuasion. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right, right. Yes. Yes. Right. Yeah. That's great, yeah. I never thought of that, but I remember when I was a teenager, I always hated the thing that was round and round, the big wheel, and someone made me do it, and I thought, boy, this is fantastic. And for a while after, I just wanted to go and fairground rides. I mean, that's the kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. So you're a whole stack of preferences you didn't know about before. You didn't know about this whole world before. Yeah. These would be transformative experiences, right? It would be like, it's like becoming a vampire. Yeah. That you've now got all these fresh interests. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, something that was latent in you all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I hadn't thought of those cases. But so these are cases where it's not that we want to say there's an interruption, but it's not either that the new preference is growing out of old preferences. Yeah. Let me just give one couple of examples here. But I think these are great cases, and I'm not sure what to say about them. So just actually, let me just counterpoint that with the cases I'm saying of clear authenticity, where you say this is authentically yours, is that it's where the future preferences are being mobilized by your past imaginative understanding, and the projection has been what was engaging your past emotions. Now, the interesting thing about the case Antonius is describing is it's not that you're getting the new preference off the peg. It's not that someone's persuading you, you ought to like this. That would be a clear case of an inauthentic preference if you're just socially bullied into thinking, yeah, I really ought to like that stuff. You know, it really is cool. That would be a case where you really are taking on something that's not authentically yours. But Antonius is describing a case where you're a new preference for something that had never occurred to you, you might have views on before. It really is yours, but it's not growing out of the old ones. Okay, so there was this very striking example in Laurie Paul of Sally. She said, imagine Sally, who had always believed that having a child would bring her happiness and fulfillment, deciding not to have a child simply because the empirical evidence tells her she'll maximize her expected value by remaining childless. To someone who just longs for children, who then reads the evidence that people are usually happier without, and says, oh well, okay, there's another dream gone. That would be a clear example of inauthenticity, really, for her not to use imaginative understanding. What Laurie Paul is recommending is use imaginative understanding of your future life to control what your current preferences will be as to your current preferences. And at the time, I gave this example of someone who says, I want to have children because at the moment my life is entirely centered on me, and I want to be forced to live in a different way. Now, when you think about that, that's actually quite a powerful remark. And that's saying something about which preferences you want to have. Is someone saying, at the moment, my desires all focus on me. I want my desires to be different. I want to be pulled out of myself. That's why I want to have children. And when that happens, you might not know very much about just which particular other-centered desires you're going to have. You might not. Laurie Paul might be right. This is really a transformative experience in that you don't know the details about what particular preferences you're going to have in the future, but you know the kind of preferences you'd like to have, and that's what you're going for. So you've got you right here with your self-centered preferences. You can shift. Pulling the lever is having children, right? And that will pull you out to having those other centered preferences. And the reason you're doing it is not because you read in a book that you ought to have those preferences, not because you took it off the shelf, but because it catches your imagination. Your projective understanding is captured by that. Now, with a transformative experience, like becoming a vampire, or all these other examples we had, I think what Laurie Paul had in mind was it's much more radical. You don't even know what your future preference structure will be like. What do vampires like to do? Well, you can't even really understand what they do until you're a vampire. That's the picture. Now, if that's right, then when you become a vampire, your preference structure is like Mary at that early stage, choosing to enter the world of colour. As she enters the world of colour, she's going to have a lot of preferences among the colours. She can't even conceive what they are right now. And that shift after the transformative experience is going to be an interruption. The thing about Antonia's example is, I guess it makes sense if it's a local interruption, isn't that right? You can have local interruptions. I guess it's good back to the thing about being a matter of degree. I guess if you've got, it's like a garden where you've got room for a couple of new plants in a spot, that's not transforming the whole garden. If you raise the whole thing to the ground and start again, yeah, but it's a matter of degree how much you have to do. So these transformative experiences, part of what's puzzling about them is that they seem to involve a lack of authenticity. You can't say that your preferences after the transformation are remaining faithful to the person you were before the transformation. So how can you really rationally choose to go in for that? And on that pleasing puzzle, we hope to stop today. Okay, thank you guys, and see you on Monday.